With training camp all wrapped up and the regular season only 2 weeks away, it's time to start making roster cuts for the Colts. So today we're doing our 53-man roster projection. Okay, and I want to start with the defense where we have 27 players making the team. The offense gets 26, defense gets 27. And honestly, I just tried to go through each team and like what does each team normally take per position, and then tried to figure out who should be on the team, what do teams normally do, and where we might give some leeway. Okay, so I want to start with the defensive line, where, of course, we have defensive tackle Grover Stewart. His backup, I have them keeping one other defensive tackle, that being McTelvin Agam. And then at nose tackle, I have three of those, where it's going to be Grover Stewart, Tommy Oddie, the rookie that was drafted this year, and Eric Johnson, who spent time on the practice squad last year for the Colts. Okay, and then one of the hardest parts of the roster to figure out was defensive end and how many do they want to keep. In mine, I'm keeping six. And the reason I want to be so deep here is because some of these guys are versatile and can play inside also. And not only that, but some of these guys have trouble staying on the field. That's a fact. So I think being deep at this position is good for multiple reasons here. And it's going to be Quiddy Pay, and I believe they want Samson Ebicom starting at the other end position. But it's either going to be him or Dio, whoever it is for the regular season. You know, Samson's been out with an injury, but he's coming from the 49ers, so we kind of just expect him to be a dog up front. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. But either way, Quiddy, Dio, and Samson are going to be your top three. Those are going to be the guys we see rotating in and out all the time. Okay, and then behind them, I think we're going to keep Taekwon Lewis, Al-Qadim Muhammad, and Titus Leo. And Titus Leo, I honestly only had five of these guys. Titus Leo wasn't on this list until preseason game 2. And Titus Leo, he was just making plays all over the place in the second half. And it was impossible not to notice number 91 out there, you know, especially because we had another 91 on the team last year. As good as that defense was, he didn't make much of an impact. Honestly, I didn't notice him in the same way that I noticed Titus Leo stick out from the competition he was playing with. So I think he's a guy that probably should definitely be making the team. And there's a chance that if they do only take 4 or 5 of these guys, Titus could end up over guys like Taekwon Lewis and Al-Qadim Muhammad, because those are the guys that have had trouble staying on the field in the past. But one way or another, this is the group that needs to step up in 2023. We've needed a real pass rush for a long time, pretty much since 98, 93, Bring the Heat Boulevard was around. So we need Quiddy to be able to stay on the field this year. Dio needs to take that next step, and Samson needs to be the dog that we expect him to be, again, coming from that San Francisco system. Okay, and then you go to look at the linebackers. I have the Will, the Middle, and the Sam all having two guys. Okay, Will is Shaq and Grant Stewart. Grant Stewart is usually a special teamer, but if you've been watching the preseason games, he's all over the place. Number 41 with the flowing Troy Polamalu hair, like he is all over the place. There's no doubt he's going to make this team. And actually, when Shaq was out of practice in the second joint practice on Thursday against the Bears, Grant Stewart was in the lineup with the starters while EJ Speed was with the second team that day. So Grant Stewart definitely making the team here. And we could see him get some real playing time at some point if one of the starters can't be on the field. At middle linebacker, it's Zaire Franklin and Segan Alubi. We unfortunately didn't get to see Segan Alubi in the second preseason game because he sustained a concussion in the first preseason game. But he is somebody that's been talked about a lot throughout training camp and made a lot of plays in the first preseason game. So I expect he's going to be the guy that they want to keep right there. And then for Sam, it's obviously going to be EJ Speed who gets to start this year. And then JoJo Doman is my pick. And you could pick Cameron McGrone or JoJo Doman, but I honestly just think that at the end of the day, JoJo Doman is a better special teams player. And basically special teams, like to be good on special teams at the linebacker spot, you just have to be able to make tackles in the open field. JoJo Doman is really good at that, which is why he's an undrafted free agent that was able to be one of the best players on the Colts special teams unit last season. So I expect him to still be on the team when the regular season rolls around. Okay, now we get to the fun positions. Okay, we have cornerback. Okay, this is a very important position for the Colts coming into 2023. So many young guys, so much uncertainty here. Okay, everybody here except for Kenny Moore is second year or rookies. Okay, we have Dallas Flowers and DJ Baker as the 1 and 2 in this defense right now. Both these guys, second year guys, but have been outstanding throughout camp. They've been good in the preseason game. Well, the one preseason game that they played, they look pretty good. So these guys, they're not perfect, right? We don't have one of the best cornerback rooms in the league. Okay, it's not going to be amazing, but these guys have the physical tools to be great. And if Gus Bradley's going to put these guys in, then I'm going to trust that. Gus Bradley's had success in the league. And I trust that these guys were able to pick some stuff up from Stephon Gilmore last year and be able to bring that kind of experience into this season with them. Okay, then you go beyond those two, of course, like we mentioned, Kenny Moore is going to be the nickel corner. And then you have three rookies, Juju Brents, Darius Rush, and Jalen Jones. And I think the interesting thing so far in the preseason games, of the three rookies, Juju Brents was drafted the earliest, but the other two have looked the best. And honestly, if you're talking about who looks best, who looks worse, it might be going in reverse order from when they're drafted. I think Jalen Jones, for a guy that wears number 40, like it looks ugly on the field, but he looks really good. He's making plays out there. The competition that he's playing with because of where he's at in terms of the depth chart, he's levels above the people he's playing with, right? Not supposed to be there. So Jalen Jones looks really good. People talking about all training camp long how he's been making plays. So I really, really like Jalen Jones. It'll be interesting to see if he's able to get himself on the field a little bit. But Darius Rush has also been making plays in the preseason games and in training camp. So as we continue to go, it'll be interesting to see what we do with the rookies. I think the three starters are probably going to be the three starters for most of the season, maybe even all the season. Wouldn't surprise me if it was all season. These young guys just kind of get experience here and there, and it's hard to stay healthy for 17 games in the NFL. So the young guys will probably get thrusted into a position at some point and get that experience. But I honestly wouldn't be surprised if we didn't see the rookies a whole lot this year. And honestly, I'm not so concerned with the corners as much as I am with the pass rush. I think the corners are actually pretty good, honestly. From everything I keep hearing, from what we see in the preseason games, corners aren't great, but it's not terrible, right? So I think if the pass rush can be just a little better, man, like try to get home, at least start putting pressure on the quarterback in 2.5 seconds. That's the objective, man. You got to make the quarterback's timer go quicker. And if the pass rush can do that, then the secondary won't get killed. The two go hand in hand, right? Football is a very team game. Two go very hand in hand, right? But if the corners do get beat and the pass rush can't get home, the guys that are going to be behind them to help the corners out are going to be free safety Rodney Thomas. Super rangy, super athletic. We like him. He has good hands. So if he's near the ball, he's probably catching. Okay, then you look at strong safety. That's where we're going to have a lot of guys. Okay, it's going to be Nick Cross, Julian Blackman, and I think the fourth safety is going to be Ronnie Harrison. And the reason that I'm going with three strong safeties is because Nick Cross can play both, right? Even in preseason game 2, he started at free safety, right? So he's interchangeable between both safety positions. But right now, as long as Rodney Thomas is playing, then you're going to see Rodney Thomas at free safety, Nick Cross at strong safety. So that's why I labeled it that way. But you can put Nick Cross in either one. Either way, we're going to end up with 4 safeties. That's the popular thing that I've heard. That's what a lot of teams do. You carry 4 safeties, keep a couple on the practice squad, and let that be that. Okay, and now the fun stuff. Now we get to the offense, okay? Starting with the all-important offensive line. Okay, I think we're going to do what's not usually typical in the NFL. A lot of teams only take eight guys on the offensive line into the season and then keep some on the practice squad. Frank Reich did that. So I expect we're definitely taking 8. I think we're going to take 9 because of injury history with these guys, because of the inconsistency of the offensive line and trying to find guys that might be able to fit into that right guard position, right? So as it goes, it's going to be left tackle Bernard Raymond and Arlington Hambright at left guard, Quentin Nelson, only left guard on the team. At center, I have Ryan Kelly and Dakota Shepley. Okay, we'll talk about Danny Pinter near the end of this video. All right, and then right guard. I hope you watched the video about me talking about Dalton Reisner. I think we need to sign him. I think the pressure's on, and I think we will. I think he's the best option. There are a couple more out there, but I think Dalton Reisner makes the most sense. Bring him on, fill him into that right guard position, help protect the rookie, man. Like, we have cap space. You're not going to have to pay Dalton Reisner that much, right? Just a couple million, only guarantee $1 million maybe for a year. Bring him in, let him get some good tape, and then have his backup be Will Fries. Okay, Will Fries is a liability. Cannot have him starting the season. Please, I'm begging you, please give us Dalton Reisner going into the NFL season, please. Okay, so after right guard, we're going to have right tackle Braden Smith, obviously. Behind him, the rookie Blake Freeland. So again, that means we're going to have 9 offensive linemen going into the year. And Arlington Hambright, he's our versatile lineman. That's why, again, Danny Pinter, a reason why I think we can get rid of him. Arlington Hambright might be a Swiss knife guy, okay? He's really a left tackle, but I think he can do anything on the left side of the line. And if they absolutely needed to, I think they might be able to get him to do center. Right. Don't take that as gospel. Okay. I'm not an offensive line guy. Could be out of my league there, but a versatile offensive lineman that can play tackle and inside, you figure maybe he could figure out center too. So I think he's a sure thing to make the team. The only real question mark I have is Dakota Shepley. Will it be him or Danny Pinter? But we'll see. Backup center could be a thing. Ryan Kelly having trouble staying on the field, even in training camp now. So we'll see what happens there. Man, the offensive line was good for a couple years. Why couldn't it just stay that way, man? I'm tired of worrying about this stuff. All right. Now let's talk about some pass catchers for this team, okay? I have 7 wide receivers being on this roster going into the season. And you have the obvious ones, right? Michael Pittman Jr., Alec Pierce, Josh Downs, Isaiah McKenzie. Those 4 guaranteed. Okay, the 3 that I have coming behind them going to be Mike Strachan and some newcomers, Amari Rodgers and James Washington. I think those guys have experience. I think, Amari Rodgers has been making plays on the offense, and he's been getting reps with the second team in practice. So it just makes sense for him to be somebody that makes the team. And James Washington just came in, but he's just like Amari Rodgers, like highly drafted for a reason, right? There's playmaking ability there. And in the first preseason game, he actually helped the Colts get down the field and be able to score the touchdown that won them the preseason game against the Bears with a massive catch. It was a really good ball by Sam Ehlinger down the field, but also James Washington burning his guy down the left side of the field. And being able to haul the ball in and keep his feet in bounds. So James Washington just got here, but it feels like they'll make room on this team for a guy like that, right? And then the other pass catchers, but are also blockers, we're going to look at tight ends. Okay, and you're going to notice one name not here, and I'm very sorry to some of you Colts fans. I really love this guy. I like him too, okay? But I'm going with Kylan Granson, Jelani Woods, Drew Ogletree, and Will Mallory. And the reason I'm going with these 4 and a guy like Mo Alley Cox not being around is because these guys are young. It's really what it is. 1 guy drafted this year, 2 guys drafted last year, 1 guy the year before. Like, there's no room for Mo. When you're doing roster construction, this new regime, this new coaching staff, especially the new offensive coaching staff being completely new, they're going to want their guys, and they're going to want young guys, guys that they can build around, guys that they can help mold. They don't want seasoned old guys that know what they know and don't want to learn all this new stuff and don't want to have to go through the process of figuring out this new thing that they have to learn on a new team and in a new system and everything. So it just makes sense for this coaching staff to want to go young, want to go more athletic. And honestly, like, is Mo that much better of a blocker than these guys? Like, let's be real, not really, dude. Right? And these guys are more freak athletes than Mo is. So, it just makes sense. Kylan Granson probably the best with the ball in his hands. Drew Ogletree could be. We just need to see him on the field. He needs to be able to stay healthy. But I really think, especially the top three, not really sure what to expect from Will Mallory, but I do like Kylan Granson, Jelani Woods, and Drew Ogletree a lot. Okay, and now some running backs. Okay, who are we going into the season with? Okay, after Jim Irsay's most recent comments during the preseason game in week 2, it seems like, there's some sort of, hey, let's try to mend these fences with Jonathan Taylor. Okay, and so much time has gone on. I'm choosing to believe the fact that Jonathan Taylor is actually hurt. Okay, and that things just kind of got blown out of proportion, and that we're going to be able to find some sort of middle ground. I'm really holding out hope. So Jonathan Taylor is going to be on the roster for me going into the season. Think that makes sense. Zach Moss, even though he probably won't start the year with us, he's going to be on the roster. Deion Jackson and Evan Hull are going to be the other two running backs on the roster. Okay, and if you've been watching, I want Kenyon Drake to make this team. I do, man. I want him to be on this team. But you start thinking about what makes sense, right? If Jonathan Taylor's here, he's Jonathan Taylor, like he's going to be the starter. And then you have Zach Moss. He's still young. If we're not going to re-sign Jonathan Taylor, maybe next year we go in a direction where Zach Moss is a leader of the group, but we can pay him less money and keep less money in the running back room, but still be able to keep guys like Deion Jackson and Evan Hull and then get somebody else on the back end. Right? That's kind of what my thinking is. If I'm Chris Ballard, that's how I'm thinking. And I think it just makes sense. Also, from Kenyon Drake's standpoint, like he's a veteran in the league, getting up there in years and won't be around the NFL much longer. But through training camp practices and through these preseason games, it's clear that he has something left in the tank. So you might as well let him keep getting some run in the preseason games and get him some film for other teams so that at some point he can maybe sign with another team this season if there's a situation that pops up for him, instead of keeping him buried on a depth chart where there's all these other guys and he might not be playing that much. And there might even be games where he's a healthy scratch. Like Kenny Drake doesn't want to be in a situation like that, even though, sure, he could make money, but he's at a point where he wants to play football. That was his first interview with the Colts, like his first press conference. He made it clear, like he wants to play football still. He still thinks he has some left in the tank to give. And so I think this has been a good opportunity for him, again, to get some stuff on film. But with what the Colts have going on and what their situation is and who else they have in the running back room, I just think it makes sense for Kenyon Drake to end up being let go before the regular season comes around. Okay. And now to finish it off, of course, we're going with quarterback, baby. We have QB1, Anthony Richardson. That much is already known. We know Gardner Minshew going to be on the team. He's our backup, one of the best backups in the league. Of course, we're keeping him, right? Question is, did I choose to keep Sam Ehlinger on the 53? It's a really good question. And even as I sit here and I know the answer to that, I'm still debating in my head whether to do it or not. But this is the decision I came to, okay? For me, Sam Ehlinger is going to be on the team. And the reason is because of offensive line play could be shoddy, and Anthony Richardson could get hurt. Also, the offense that we're running in Anthony Richardson's play style, Anthony Richardson could get hurt. And if Anthony Richardson could get hurt, Gardner Minshew could get hurt. And because of the Brock Purdy situation, the way the NFL rules are now, you can take an emergency quarterback with you into the game. And that player will count against the 53-man roster, but does not count against the 46-man roster of active players that you take into a game day. So he does take up room here on the 53. I would have liked to have kept Mo Alley Cox. If I could have kept another player, I would have taken Sam off, kept Mo Alley Cox. That was really the decision for me. But it ended up coming down to Sam being more vital just in case you need him, right? And the players know him, the players like him, and he can run this offense, right? Like same play style as Anthony Richardson. So makes sense to keep him on the roster. So, and he's a preseason god. Like, I don't know what it is. He's a preseason god. So it's hard to just let him go because he's not going to end up on the practice squad, right? Because guys, when you release people in the NFL, other teams have a chance to pick them up before you can pick them back up for your practice squad. So Sam Ellinger, if we release him, somebody else is almost certainly going to pick him up to be in their building. So I think it's smart to go ahead and keep Sam in the building. Okay, and I want to finish this up real quick with practice squad players, the guys that aren't going to make the roster, but we could see at some point this season if injuries keep happening because right now we are just dropping players left and right. It's crazy. So every team's allowed to have 16 players on the practice squad. Out of the 16 players on the practice squad, a team can have any number of players who have not accrued at least 9 games in an NFL season. You can have up to 4 players who have accrued no more than 2 NFL seasons. Okay. So with that information in mind, the guys that I'm picking, running back, Jake Funk, Danny Pinter, who very easily, I'm not going to explain this for all these guys. All these guys could end up getting picked up by somebody else. I don't think they're going to make the active roster. So these guys are going to get waived, could get picked up somewhere else. But if they don't, these are guys that I believe the Colts would want to bring back for their practice squad. Okay. Jake Funk, Danny Pinter, Jawan Winfrey. And honestly, Jawan Winfrey could make the 53. What I saw in preseason game 2, he could make the 53. Okay, preseason game 3 going to be very, very important for Jawan Winfrey and Mike Strawn. I think that's going to be the competition right there. So for right now, Jawan Winfrey, practice squad guy. Okay, Dan Skipper, right tackle. Wesley French, right guard. Pharaoh Brown, tight end. Probably wouldn't make it back to us, but he might. Taven Bryan probably wouldn't make it back to us, but he might. Cameron McGrone probably wouldn't make it back to us, but he might. Donovan Mutin, same thing. Marcel Dabo and Trevor Denbo could make it back to us. Henry Black probably wouldn't, but the Colts would definitely like him there. Then Tony Brown is a guy that I know for sure the Colts would like to have on the practice squad. But he's a decent special teamer, so he might not make it back to us. And then there's Chris Lamons and Brashad Perriman. No telling what could happen with either of those guys with the number of years that they've been in the league, the teams that they've bounced around to. But those could easily be guys that end up on the Colts practice squad. Okay, so that was a little lengthy. If you stuck around, I appreciate you so much. Please drop a like on the video and be sure you're subscribed with notifications on so you continue to get notified about different videos like this or different Colts news that happens. I'll get everything to you as soon as I possibly can. And with that said, as always, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and go Colts, baby.